This conference will now be recorded.
Fantastic. Thank you for reminding me. I did forget. And when George watches this video, George, Jeanette got the gold star today, not you. All right. So before we jump back into this, a couple things I want to let everybody know about, a couple updates. Yep. I was told, and we're checking on this together. Yeah, it's live. Perfect. A few seconds ago it was fixed. So now your leads are coming in properly in your dashboard, which is great. I'm going to do a quick screenshot of this.
You got anything on the app? You know, the branding of the app. Are they looking into that by any chance?
Oh, they most certainly are. I was talking to one of the developers about it. They're actively investigating it. I found, it was my theory, that it was the specific link. There are two types of links out there, and one brands and one doesn't, but not always. So they're actively looking into that to fix it. As soon as I get information that it's working, I will let you know.
Yeah,
and one other thing that they found with the app, just so you're aware right now, and you can try it yourself, if you open the app and you search a property, there's a known issue with Android users that the app itself crashes.
Oh, wow. There you go. I do not know what my clients use. I mean, I am Mac, but I'm Apple, but I'm not sure what my clients have. So
yeah. So as soon as
that would be a big issue, because then people will take the app off.
Exactly. So another pat on the back for everybody here at Complete, because we're using this sparingly. We're just testing it out. We haven't gone crazy sending it to everybody. So good for us that a lot of our clients aren't getting annoyed with it. And as I'm talking to you now, I'm searching and it's not crashing. So who knows? Hopefully they fixed it already. If not, they'll have a fix for it shortly. I haven't seen anything announced, but it just worked for me. So hopefully we'll get an announcement today. All right. And then the rest of the stuff, a few things have been pushed back through when they were labbing it and testing it, that it wasn't working or wasn't ready. Like, I will have the ability to create smart plans and share it with everybody in the market center. That's been pushed back. So that's not a big issue right now. And I was excited for that to come out, but I'm not entirely surprised that it's been pushed back a couple of weeks. So yeah, the dashboard with the leads, that's the fix that came out today, and I'm very happy to see that. Before we jump into the listing checklist, and that, Aaron, either of you have any questions or issues or something that's top of mind right now that you want to focus on?
No, I'm okay. I'd like to get this done.
Okay, Aaron, anything for you?
No, all good.
Okay, so we ended on marketing. Is there anything we wanted to jump back in and add in marketing here?
I'm okay with it. You know, people will put their own stuff in, I guess, whatever they do.
Yeah, and of course, as we go through, if we think of something, we can always go back. So in the flow of things, the active client, we've done a large meeting with them where they're signing a lot of forms. Then we've gone back when the house is staged to take photos in the virtual tour. We've done the lockbox, we have the lawn sign, we've done broker bay instructions, and then we proceeded with our marketing for the listing that we have. So now when it's under contract, and this is where I'm really out of my element here, what would be the first, or it doesn't have to be the first thing, we could just start throwing them out there and then format it after in order. What would be the first stage for something that's under contract? This, again, financing was from the previous, the buyer checklist. It doesn't have to be financing, or it could start.
Well, in general, the financing is really up to the buyer, not to the seller, not to the listing part. So, of course, we like to know that the financing is okay, but it's not anything they have to do or you have to do for your client, because that is done by the buyer agent, the buyer client.
All right, so I can take that out, and I imagine the appraisal can be removed as well?
No, because they might get somebody in if that buyer doesn't have the 20% down. So that means there might be an appointment need to be made through the appraisal, that the appraisal is going to come into the house to see if the house appraises. In general, the buyer agent do that through the, but I mean, they need, if needed, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Perfect. So we would book an appraisal if needed, and we would set the calendar.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there anything else needed for the appraisal on the listing end?
No.
Okay.
Not I know. What do you think, Aaron?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Perfect. Okay, so what else would be needed then when it's under contract? Offers, I imagine you would have to accept or decline offers.
Oh, okay. Is under contract, are we talking with an accepted offer, or are we talking before an accepted offer?
I do not know.
Negotiation, you know what? We still have to do negotiations first. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Negotiations.
So we with marketing, and now we're getting an offer. Okay, good. Okay, we forgot a step here. So now we're receiving offers.
Okay. So review offer with client?
Yeah, presentation, offer presentation. Now, and in there, I'd just like to put a few things in there just for people who are not so familiar with it. And
Okay.
again, it all depends on the market, but normally you would have a certain time of a irrevocable on your offer, okay?
Yep.
Now we're getting into a time again where it's becoming multiple offers. So that means some people now are putting on their MLS a certain time and date that all the offers have to be in.
Yep.
So one way or another, we have to mention that if needed, with multiple offers, there are a few things that you need to be doing, including signing a form with your clients that's going to be a date and time that we only receive offers, and that means all the buyers have the offers in at the same time.
Okay, and that's done on the listing on your end as the listing agent?
Yeah, absolutely, because the listing agent has to discuss that with the seller.
So is that something you do ahead of time before you start receiving offers, or is that
Not
something you do?
It all depends how the market moves. Again, up until last week, I did not do it on my listing, but this week I probably would do it on the listing I had 2 weeks ago, just because it's so much more busy. It all depends on the market. So I don't know how we're going to set it up, but I think first we'll get the offers, and then just make a little note for the people that if it's going to be multiple offers, there need to be set dates set, and there need to be a form filled out, form 244.
What? What's a 244?
You have to talk to your clients that you're changing your MLS to having, if you go into multiples and you're accepting only a certain time, unless you already had set it up in your MLS. If you have to change the MLS, you need a form for that.
Yeah, in my experience, an offer presentation date would be set ahead of time, put on the listing in the realtor remarks and on Broker Bay so that everybody's aware.
Then it is aware, but if it's not, if you just had 24-hour irrevocable, you get 4 offers, you might want to change that to a certain date. So again, then you have to fill out the forms.
Okay, so is this something?
Yeah.
So the multiple offers and setting date, it sounds like, Annette, you've created some space to do it here, and Aaron, this is something you do with the instructions when you broker load it.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that maybe we do, how do we explain that in this section if we were going to do it early, Aaron? How would that just be part of your broker load?
Honestly, it's hard to explain, and it's hard to account for every case scenario, right? So, I mean, when I was with Cam, he would know ahead of time if something was going to have multiple offers based on the pricing strategy he used. So if he knew that there were going to be multiple offers, he'd set an offer presentation date before we even broker loaded. And then when we broker loaded, it was in the realtor remarks and it went in Broker Bay as an offer presentation date. That way people weren't upset sending in offers and us saying, oh, no, we're holding offers.
But things change all the time, every day.
Sure.
So I just like to, you know what, it doesn't matter for me because I know what to do, but I'm just thinking if somebody reads that, so
I
they
like it.
don't know what to do.
So does this make sense? Offer presentation date for multiples if needed.
That's good, makes sense.
Perfect. And then a form 242, which Aaron has never heard of, neither have I.
I think it's 244 actually.
244.
Well, I'm guessing it's a seller direction, but I'm not sure.
Other direction, that's it.
Okay, perfect. So if we have that up here, when we're negotiating, what are some other things that need to be done? Let's see what they have. Well, they have inspection, which I'm noticing we don't have yet.
Not yet. We first have to go to the negotiations, okay? So we're getting the offers. It could be one offer where you have an irrevocable for a certain amount of hours, or it could be multiple. Then there's two scenarios. If it is multiple, I mean, I always present to my, if it's not live, I will do present on virtual. So I present the offers. I never call in, we have received an offer and this is what they're doing. I'm always sitting down with them, okay? And if we get multiple offers, then I have all the offers there. I go through them. I go through the offers. I highlight the points of negotiations, meaning date, of course, the money, what kind of conditions there are in there. So there's a lot of work to be written down in negotiations. Don't you agree, Aaron?
Yes, but I don't think that we need to spell out negotiations any further than negotiations. I mean, this isn't the most comprehensive list, right? This is just that I don't think we spelled it out in the buyer end either.
I don't know. Let's see what we did with the buyer end. I can't remember.
Offer negotiating, add parties to opportunity, add offers to opportunity, call listing agent, add note to opportunity, confirm price, confirm date, confirm conditions, accept offer.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
So would that be the same?
That could be very much the same. Absolutely.
Okay.
And then, of course, you would call listing, you call buying agent instead of listing agent, but that's pretty much what it comes down to.
Right, and then here. Perfect. I'll clean up all this formatting off screen just to make Aaron happy. So add parties to opportunity, add offers to opportunity, call listing agent, call buyer agent. Okay, add notes, opportunity, confirm price, confirm conditions, accept offer. So does inspection happen in between any of these?
No.
Okay, perfect. Appraisal if needed. So now we're on to inspection. Does that make sense?
Before that.
Yep.
Before that, we need a deposit.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to communicate with the buyer's agent how our office needs to receive a deposit. So right now, we're only doing wire transfer pretty much.
Yeah. So is that under the negotiations or is that after negotiation?
After it's accepted.
Yeah.
Okay, so deposit. All right, so the appraisal here is if needed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Appraisal if needed. In fact, I think appraisal, I'm going to put if needed there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we have deposit. What's involved with that? Communicate with buyer agent how we receive deposit.
Yeah, so I mean, we have a Schedule B attached to our offers, which you would think makes it pretty self-explanatory, but not always. Sometimes we have to actually tell them, needs to be a wire transfer. You need to add $14 to that wire transfer. We have a sheet for that we can send them that outlines that, but it's also in the Schedule B. So the deposit comes before the inspection or the appraisal.
Okay. Before the
Deposit should be received typically within 24 hours after it's accepted. Business hours.
Okay, so deposit before appraisal. So the deposit instructions communicated to buyer agent. And we have a form we can send them?
You
Yep.
have a KW form for that. And you can also, and of course, it's also in the Schedule B. But so interesting. So your office charges $14? I thought it was $13. It's a 14-hour day?
13 or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it
It's
is. but yeah,
$13.
$13.
Have you got the
Okay.
form?
What else is needed for the deposit then?
24 hours.
So
has to be in. Mhm.
yeah, so they have 24 hours to bring in the deposit, and then like there's still paperwork, right? So we have to do a receipt of funds. Once the office sends us a deposit receipt, we'll get a deposit receipt from the front desk. Now, if it's a wire transfer, we have to actually send it to TC to verify that the money has been received, and then the front desk will do a deposit receipt, and then we do a receipt of funds from that.
Mhm.
Okay, so the receipt of funds is something you send to the
We-
buyer agent?
No, we don't have to send it. We just have to do it for the office. We give the buyer agent a copy of the deposit receipt, though.
Okay, and then you said it was different if it's a wire transfer?
If it's a wire transfer, there's one more step. TC has to verify it.
Okay, wire transfer TC verification,
Uh-huh.
receipt of funds for office admin, okay? And then what else? What else would we have?
The only thing
Sorry,
I
one
would
more time.
is the
You-
24 hours. That's it. Just if people are new, just make sure that it is done within 24 hours. That's all.
So I would
Okay.
change receipt of funds there for office admin to deposit receipt from office admin, because we send the deposit receipt to the buyer agent and then we do the receipt of funds.
Okay,
And that goes into next one.
okay. And 1 second.
Now that's assuming that we've already created a transaction in next one and uploaded the agreement of purchase and sale and the confirmation of co-op.
Okay,
I
you're
don't
going
do
through
that until it's firm.
Me too. I don't do it either.
Okay.
Until it's too much work if things fall through.
Exactly.
Harvey, and these are the ins and outs that I love everybody sharing, because if that's what everybody does, then let's set this up so everybody does it the same way.
But there's what you should do and then there's what we do.
I'm setting this up for what we do.
Okay, well then we're not doing a receipt of funds right now. We're doing it when it's firm.
Okay,
I mean, either way, honestly, but the deposit receipt does need to go to the buyer's agent just so they have a copy of it.
okay. So once again, these recordings, they will be shared with this form, so they can hear everything we just talked about, and then when they set up their opportunity command, they can place this wherever they want. For
Mhm.
now, let's just keep this here.
Yep, that's good.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else then needed for the deposit?
No.
Okay. Appraisal if needed. So next up is the inspection.
Mhm.
Yep.
And that's pretty much like the other inspection, you know. What did we have with the buyer? It's not that much difference. The only thing is
Yeah.
they come to their house. That's it.
Exactly. We just make an appointment.
Mhm.
Okay, so when is that inspection booked?
Within the amount of dates that we have the conditions, which is in general, most people do 5 business days or 7 days or something like that. So it will be an inspector from the other side, meaning the inspector is paid by the buyer. So the only thing we really need to do is making sure that we discuss that between the buyer and the listing agent, what time the inspector is coming in. We don't have to be there. The buyer agent is with them.
Okay, so would this make sense if I confirm
Yeah,
inspection date?
That's it.
I don't know why I put a capital D there.
Mhm.
So you're gonna confirm inspection date with your client?
Yeah, with seller. So and of course you confirm that with the buyer agent. So
Well, you would get the buyer agent, would they not give you the date and then you would?
yeah, it goes both ways. I mean, you work together. So the buyer agent might call you and say, can you do Thursday afternoon? And I go to my seller and say, can you do Thursday afternoon? Next Thursday is not good. Let's do Friday morning. Yada yada
Okay.
yada. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so confirm with client and buyer agent.
And that's it for us.
Where did my mouse go? Perfect. All right. So then after the inspection, is it firm paperwork? What's next? What would we be doing?
Well, if there's any, if the inspection again reveals any defects, anything like that, we can negotiate that kind of stuff. We might need to do a couple of repairs.
So is it really reviewing inspection, or is it reviewing anything required as a result of the inspection?
That's it. Anything required as a result. We do not get the reports. The buyer
Exactly.
might say, okay, something is not good at the, I don't know, the stairs up to the balcony is no good. That has to be repaired. So you go back to the seller and you say, okay, what are we going to do? Are you going to repair the steps, or otherwise we're going to take some money away and then we'll repair the walls, that kind of stuff.
Perfect. So then what I would say is, based on the conversation in this particular opportunity, you might create some custom tasks, which is fix the front steps, have this repaired or bring price down. So you could customize what you need to do based, and we can't map that out because every inspection is completely different. So over here we have congratulate seller, set FMS pending, get pending contract to lender, contract to attorney, finalize. So do we have to do this stuff with the lawyer? Are we missing steps for the lawyer?
No, I'm not doing that until it is all firm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So appraisal's in here and clear to close.
So, so the buyer is going to send us, again, either the notice of fulfillment, the waiver, or the amendment, and we need to accept that paperwork to make the deal firm.
Yeah, I think if you go to the buyer one, we see it there. You can sort of pretty much
Oh, really?
paste that. Yeah, the NOFs.
Notice of fulfillment, celebrate with client, have a drink, social media post, or info, send everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all perfect. Love it.
NOF waiver, whatever people use.
Okay. And then under close, then I know I've got a lot of formatting here that's annoying me.
Well, before we close, there's still some things in firm there, right?
What do we got?
We have to send the paperwork to the lawyer at that point, once it's firm.
Right there?
Yep. We already had it, yeah.
We have to report the firm sale to Matrix or MLS or whatever you want to call that.
Through Matrix.
Yeah,
Yep.
through Matrix. Yeah.
Okay. What else?
We have to upload the paperwork to next one.
Is that getting the paperwork signed?
Nope, paperwork's already signed. We just submit it.
So if next one didn't exist, if Fall Tour wasn't there,
We'd be sending it to the deal secretary.
So we'd be submitting, so ideally, and I'm gonna go on a different tab here.
I would say send it to the office then, TC or something. But I'm not sure. I don't have a dual secretary. I do it all myself.
So when I have.
Well, the deal secretary is technically TC. Some offices call it a deal secretary. Some offices call it something else. We call it transactions.
There we go. So if I go, click, let's go. I could have ideally all of my documents up here, and then I submit them to the market center.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that we're not running with that right now. We're kind of using next one. So in this would be generically speaking, send signed paperwork to the office.
Yes.
Provide to the market.
Yeah, see, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. And there are different ways to do that. And it's up to the agent to decide which way they want to do it, because we're not making people do it a specific way. Okay.
Yep. And then so there was something back in conditional sale as well. So when it's conditional, we have to decide whether or not we're still going to show the property. And if we're not going to continue to show the property, we had to cancel any showings that have been booked past a conditional acceptance.
Oh yeah, where should we put that? That should be
Do
after.
you want a separate column altogether for conditional?
Kind of do.
Yeah, because we do have
Okay.
different conditions. Mhm.
I like that. I like using the stages for these types of things.
And really, conditional sale is where your appraisal and your inspection go.
Mhm.
Okay, now you've completely confused me. What's that?
Well, actually, you know
So-
what? That may be better. Maybe we should put it. I think you're right there, Aaron. I think we should put on conditional sale, and with that we have the inspection, probably an appraisal, but we might also have a sale of property or something. So we have a few more that that can happen, and especially now, a lot of them are sale of property. So that's something that new people need to know as well, because that's also a condition. So maybe we should put it on the conditions and then put them in under each other. What do you think?
I think that makes sense. I don't think making appraisal and inspection their own categories necessarily makes sense. I think they're just options under conditions.
Yeah, that's
So we're gonna
Sale.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Again, I'll clean up all the formatting off after.
Yep. I think that's better. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then just for maybe you can put a little question mark. Sale of property, SOP as we call it, is one of the other conditions that is, again, depends on the market. Sometimes we don't need it at all, but it is hot now. So financing, just so that we have them. So that's what people are waiting for, pretty much, the sellers. They're waiting for those kind of conditions to get signed off.
I didn't follow there. So am I putting sale of property question mark because we're waiting for something to come in, or because we may or may
it's
not
just one
do
of
it?
the conditions that can be put in a conditional sale. So for me, it's just as a reminder, because the sale of property is again hot at the moment. Okay, financing is still hot. We don't really do anything about it because we are not the ones who's selling the property. The buyers have to sell their property. But it is something that you, one way or another, need to tick off, that when these things are signed off with an NOF or a waiver, it's one of those things.
So sale of property completed?
No.
It's like possible. It's like a sale of property if needed.
So Brian, that's the sale of the buyer's property. So when occasionally you have a condition where the buyer has to sell their property to buy the seller's property, right? So a sale of property condition usually carries a 48-hour well, not irrevocable. What is it? It's escape clause.
Okay.
Escape clause.
Perfect. Thank you for being patient with me, because I didn't understand it. So what you're saying is, if I'm selling my house and I'm using that money to buy a house, that would be one of my conditions. And
yes.
I'm waiting on selling this house in order to move forward. Got it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Sale of property if needed. All right, now makes complete sense, and definitely have that in there. Okay. Are we missing anything else?
Yeah, so even when it's conditionally sold, you also have to report that to Matrix. It's a little bit different though. It's just you're putting in the condition date and the conditions if applicable, and an escape clause if applicable. So if it is a sale of property condition, typically it's a 24 or 48-hour escape clause, which means that if another offer comes in, your seller can accept it and then give the previous offer an option to firm or not.
Okay. So that is, again, report conditional sale through Matrix if needed.
Yes. Yeah. Not if needed. You have to do it when it's conditional.
Okay.
So just, report conditional sale through Matrix. It's fine.
Okay. Nice.
And there'll be an option there for whether or not you're still allowing showings. So you have to discuss with your seller if you're still going to allow showings. Now, in these days, not necessarily going to continue to allow showings if we have an accepted offer that is only conditional on, finance and inspection. If it is sale of property, yeah, we're going to continue to show, but it also depends in the market, right? And on your
Okay.
sellers. Your sellers just, you're dealing with a seller with tenants and they're fed up and they don't want to show the property anymore and you can't. But
So let me ask you this, is that something that you would have there in the template, or is that something you would add as a custom item for that opportunity?
well, it's just an option. Either you're going to continue to show or you're not going to continue to show. And that has
So-
to be decided before you report a conditional sale.
Okay, so for the second time, discuss
Yeah, discuss with seller.
showings, continued showings.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I capitalizing everything? And you report the conditional sale through Matrix. Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
That looks good.
All right. And then we're good with firm paperwork. Anything, oops, sorry. Anything we need to add for conditional sale? My mouse is everywhere today.
I think that's good for conditional. I have something else under firm though.
What else?
We gotta give the sign company a day to take the sign down. Some people do it 2 weeks after firm. Some people do it a week before closing. Totally depends on what you want to do. But you have to tell the sign company that you want to take the sign down.
Okay, perfect. That's a good one. People would forget that, and that's money lost.
Well, not only that, but when your new buyer moves in and there's still a for sale sign on their property. Actually, not only that, we need to add a sold rider to the for sale sign once the property is firm.
Yeah, that's the firm.
So we're removing it here, or are we putting?
So once it's firm, we put a sold rider on it. And I mean, it's depending on your sign company. Typically, the sold rider, again, the sign comes down 2 weeks after firm. So the sold rider stays on for 2 weeks, and then the sign comes down with the sold rider.
I guess you're in
No
a team, Aaron. You do everything with the company. That's interesting. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. No, that's good. They're right there next to each other, and those are the steps in which you need to do it. Awesome.
Okay, so you got a Facebook post in firm somewhere. Just sold.
Social media posts.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
beautiful.
Million, celebrate with client, social media post, lawyer info. Do we need that?
Yeah, we do.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we need the lawyer. Yeah, I send the paperwork to the lawyer.
Send all paperwork to client. Next step info to client. So you let them know what the next steps are. Report sales to Matrix, provide signed paperwork to Market Center, however that's done. Add sold to lawn sign, and then remove lawn sign. Obviously, when you do this, you can go in and set calendar dates.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, looks good.
Perfect. Perfect. So now we're down on close, and I think a lot of what they have in close we already have up here. Would that be correct?
Well, close is when they're sort of moving in, isn't it? When you do 100%, it's all good.
Well, close is still, so actually there was something else you probably could have added to close for the buyer side, which is the walkthrough. There's a closing walkthrough typically we do the day before close. And that's just kind of make sure that, nothing catastrophic happened to the property.
Perfect.
Typically in our paperwork and our offer or whatever in the agreement, it says that, you got to leave it in a broom swept condition. You can't destroy the property before you close.
Or not.
So yeah, so the closing walkthrough or the final walkthrough or whatever, plus, there are buyer's visits as well. Buyer can visit typically 2 to 3 times after the deal is firm before closing. They want to measure stuff, that kind of crap.
Mm-hmm.
So that's stuff on the buyer side, but it's also stuff on the seller side, right? Because the seller needs to understand that they do have the right to come back. It's usually written into the agreement
Okay.
how many times they can come back. But you want them to be, they have to have pretty much moved all their stuff before that closing walkthrough, that final walkthrough. Typically they have, that you don't want them trying to move out the day of closing, the morning of closing. That's not going to work for anybody.
Okay.
And then they've given their lawyer their keys.
So would that be next steps? That's too generic. So I'm going to go over here. Move out. Like what do we want to call this stage?
Yeah, good question. Because it's all the same stuff, right? It's the transfer utilities, it's the moving company, and it's the cleaning.
So
It's almost like closing prep. I don't know. Something like that.
prep, sure. Perfect. So they would have to have a client moves out,
Yep.
clean home.
That'd be nice.
All right.
You must have
After
seen
clean-
them too, eh, Aaron?
So
What
okay,
was
client moves out, we clean the home. Anything else we need to do? Utility bills?
Well, yeah, they have to forward their mail or whatever they're going to do. And I mean, this is on the other side too, right? If they're buying something or moving, obviously on the buying side, they've set up utilities, they've set up their mail forwarding and all that. So it kind of goes
Yeah.
both ways, right?
I might add this closing prep to this section here. Whatever it is we come up with.
And then you have to pick up your lockbox.
Yes, which I erased.
Which is fun because you have to pick up your lockbox between the final walkthrough and closing day, which is basically the morning of closing.
Yeah.
Now, with us, with the Sentry lockbox, the buyer can't get rid of it, so it's still there for us. But yeah, and you know what? Some people, like with the numbered lockboxes, you technically should be changing your lockbox code between buyer's visits and the final walkthrough, but who knows? Nobody does it. I was going to say, if you know Joyce O'Donnell, every one of her lockbox codes is JOD.
It's the same with a few of them here in Niagara. I know exactly when their birthdays are.
Yeah.
Born in 1962, 87. It's the same
That's
lockbox.
hilarious.
Super secure.
Very secure.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, is that it? Do we have this completed?
Maybe.
Really close. I mean, we can always do a little bit of like, everybody does their own little wiggling here and there, but I think it's a good kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I'm sharing this document with you guys.
Yeah, can I also
Only
get
you.
the other one, the listing checklist and the buyer checklist, so that I can just still go through it for myself? You know, the
I
one
think they're in the same document.
What's that?
You have both the listing and the buying in the same document, right?
Yeah, there's buyer tab, seller tab.
Yeah, and then can you also send the one that we've been working from, so that if I want to go through it for myself, I can just compare and see how I want to write it out?
Yeah, what I'll
Which I think is
do,
PDF, which is fine. It's just for myself, so I can do a little checking up and everything else. And
what I'll do
I still
then
would like to do
is
the
right
number.
here, Annette, under buyer, actually to the right of this red square, I'm gonna put, there's the link to.
Oh, the link. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
On both pages.
Yeah, that's good. That's fine.
Perfect. Ladies, thank you so much. I mean, this was a commitment of time to walk through and do this. I've been trying to do this for a while, and I cannot thank you enough. And George, if you're watching this recording, for your input, same with Debbie. As a newer agent, it's great to have that perspective as well. I'm thrilled that we have this. I'm going to go through and clean it up a little bit. And you guys, ladies, are more than welcome to jump in. And fix any of my spelling mistakes and help clean it up and make some suggestions. I ask that you don't rearrange it too much because we want to kind of keep this same format. But yeah, couldn't have done it without you guys. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. I'm glad to go through it. My God, it took longer than we thought it was. Oh my God,
I know, right?
4 mornings, my God, yeah. Mhm.
But that was the thing that I kept coming across. It said, I'd have a classroom full of people and I'd say, hey, all right, so everybody has a system, everybody knows what they do. When they get a lead all the way to the close, oh yeah, totally, okay. So the first thing I guess you call them. Yeah, okay. What's the second thing? Crickets. Nobody says anything. And it takes some time to actually walk through and map it all out. Get away.
Mhm.
All right. So with this completed, we might come back and revisit it before I put it on the website and get it live, but it's Wednesday. So tomorrow, what I'd like to do is jump into the smart plans, A listing smart plan, the B listing, and the C listing. Same with the lead A, Bs, and Cs. I want to start building those out and see what works best. Amazing. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording.